And so I want to play you Kash Patel responding to Stephen A. Smith's lunacy that, Donald Trump here, pointing a finger like, we played it yesterday, but Stephen A. Smith like, oh, here, Chauncey Billups is in trouble and Terry Rozier is in trouble and he's like, Trump's coming, y'all, Trump's coming. And, like, and I'm like, I hope he is. Because our sports world is corrupt and it's promoting things that need to be cleaned up. But all Stephen A. Smith working for Bob Iger, all he can see is like, hey, this could mess with our money. Don't you understand what DraftKings and FanDuel have done for me and Disney and everybody else? But here's Kash Patel yesterday responding to Stephen A. Smith's lunacy, where instead of, let me play Kash Patel and then I'll tell you the other side of this. Play the clip.
Yeah, down the street. By the way, this was so wild. Stephen A. Smith, the sports commentator, suggested that this was revenge from the president for all the kind of left-wing activism of the NBA. Your response to that, 15 seconds.
I'm the FBI director. I decide which arrests to conduct and which not to conduct. That may be the single dumbest thing I've ever heard out of anyone in modern history, and I live most of my time in Washington, D.C. It's right up there with Adam Schiff. We arrest people for crimes.
How would anybody connected to the sports world hear this story that an NBA Hall of Famer, an NBA champion, an NBA head coach, active head coach, is involved in some sort of poker scheme involving mafia members, and the reaction be, oh man, Trump's coming, and Trump's coming after his enemies, and Trump is the bad guy here. How would you hear that as a sports fan, as a sports journalist? And this is why I'm so concerned that, like, do we have an answer to this? Because the entire media is now rigged around a system of the only crimes that are punishable are crimes committed by Donald Trump or his supporters. If you're an enemy of Trump, there's nothing we can't rationalize by saying, what about Brett Favre? Or what about Donald Trump? Or what about some random white guy? The corruption you see throughout all of sports, the games that you cannot trust, the actions that you cannot trust, the participants who are running around with out of the closet mafia members and clearly influenced and perhaps intimidated by them. Oh, don't worry about any of that. We got to worry about Donald Trump. And people have been asking the question over and over again, and it seems like a silly question to me. It's a question about why would they do it? Well, they're making $9 million a year. He's got a $20 million contract. He's got a $100 million contract. Why would these guys do it? And I would say, why wouldn't they do it, given the environment and the culture that we've built around sports? They show up to arenas. The arenas play a style of music that promotes corruption and greed and debauchery. And so you're wondering, man, Chauncey Billups doesn't need $9 million. But Chauncey Billups has existed in a sports world that has told athletes, and again, they don't tell it directly, but this is what we've done to athletics over the last 50 years. Hey guys, I know this used to promote Christian values, but what we want athletes to do now, rather than be role models, we want athletes to mimic the behavior of criminals, gangsters, men that are incarcerated. So athletes, we want you to tat yourself up, dress with your pants hanging off your ass. We want you to pretend like you're some Iceberg Slim type pimp and rapper, and that's your brand now. That's your image. that you're there to promote a ghetto-ness and let everybody know, man, I haven't sold out. I keep it real. Literally, and I'm going to say this, and I don't want it to be bleeped out because this is a real. They've told athletes, act in a niggardly fashion. Be a nigga. That's your brand. That's what's been promoted to all of these athletes, and that's what they've done. If you're Russell Wilson, you will be ridiculed. You're some Carlton-like nerd. Everything that they promoted to these athletes, the black athletes that are in the dominant sports, the NBA and the NFL, they all got to put their big gold chains on. They're now wearing them on the field. And I look at this and I go, is everybody asleep at the wheel? Does Roger Goodell not understand that his athletes shouldn't be out there in pearl necklaces and big gold chains and flaunting their wealth constantly? Does he know how disconnected that is from the founding of sports? Flaunting your wealth in this sort of wasteful manner while on the field doing your job? And again, the NBA, they're all tatted up, and they'll probably now be complaining, how come we can't wear our gold chains on the court? They're doing it in the NFL. And I know the critics of mine and the defenders of all of this greed will say, oh man, Whitlock, get off my lawn, you're just an old man. At what point do we realize that some of the things people were complaining about, hey, where we're going with music, where we're going with sports, it's all come to fruition. We've gone too far. The music and the entertainment promote a corruption that is now pervasive and is being uncovered, and you can't just stick this back in the bottle and ignore it and act like, hey, we don't need to do anything about it. Yes, we do. It's not to sing the praises of David Stern because he participated in sending us on this path, but not to this level. And so I can remember when David Stern was like, hey, man, we got a dress code for you NBA players, and you're not going to show up here looking like Tupac Shakur. And everybody, oh, that's racist. And I was like, no, it's not. It's professionalism. And he's demanding, hey, man, we're paying you millions of dollars. We want you to show up and look like a professional. We want you to show up and look like an athlete who's trying to set an example for young people. And so all of this buffoonery and gangsterism that's being promoted all throughout sports, that's damaging our kids, and we look at the kids mimic the behavior. No kid in Pee Wee football can score a touchdown now without doing something to draw attention to himself and to taunt his opponents and to say, hey, look at me. And it's all coming from the athletes. We should be sitting here like man, I can't believe, we haven't reached this level of exposure. It took us this long. These athletes are corrupt. And they're running around with corrupt people. And so no one should be surprised that they're involved in corruption. They're compromised. You go out to Las Vegas and you start banging strippers. You start banging cocktail waitresses. That's how they compromise you. That's how they know all your information. That's how they know your secrets. And so Chauncey Billups isn't doing this, if he's guilty of this, because he needs the money. He's doing it because he surrounded himself with people who do that. It's no mystery. It's like, hey, Jason, if you run around with guys that go to strip clubs, eventually you're going to go to a strip club. If you run around with guys who make money illegally through gambling and other activities, eventually you're going to gamble. And eventually, they're going to know your secrets. They're going to know what drugs you use. They're going to know if you're cheating on your wife. They're going to know what strippers you like to bang. And they're going to have you compromised because you're sitting around, you're involved in a culture that celebrates the gangster and makes you think, hey, I need to take my identity in being a little bit of a gangster. And you can't be a little bit of a gangster. It's like being a little bit pregnant. Eventually that baby's going to come out.
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.